Okay, so this is being recorded now. And I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Joyce Raimondo. I'm here at the Pollock Krasna House and Study Center in East Hampton. We're a national landmark located 100 miles east of New York City on Long Island. And I'm the education coordinator. I'm also an artist. And I'm so happy to introduce our December series of free Zoom programs. You can find all the events on pkhouse.org. So we're exploring, we're celebrating light in art during December. And I thought it would be fun to look at the way artists use light. And there's so many different facets to light. I mean, the topic is so broad. So really, all of these talks are just sort of a way of introduction into the topic, okay? So before we get started, I want to just show you the spectacular landscape on the property here at the National Landmark. We're closed to the public during the colder months. We reopen in May, and you can come to visit in person if you're in the East Hampton Springs area. So what a perfect place to talk about light. Because why did so many artists come to East Hampton and the Springs to the end of Long Island, beginning in the late 1900s, the late 1800s, as soon as the railroad could cart artists out here easily from New York City? Well, one of the reasons is that the light is spectacular here. And if you're on the east end of Long Island, you know exactly what I mean. We are surrounded by bays and oceans, and the light is reflected off of the water to create the most spectacular light. This is the view of Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasna's property, purchased in 1947. So the barn was originally there, and then Pollock and his friends moved it there so as to not block this beautiful view. Now, I know it's a little difficult to see, but it's so spectacular. That's like a marshy area, that golden grass. Lee donated that to the Nature Conservancy. And way in the background is a body of water called Accabonac Creek. And you can take that all the way out to all the inlets to the end of Long Island. It will eventually reach Montauk. But what's so spectacular, every time I come here, literally every time, this view looks completely different. The color of the water today is a black and a very, very light whitish blue that then turns into a gray. Why is the water black today? Why is it that every time I come here, that the color looks completely different? Of course, the color of the grass is different because it's fall. It's winter, and now it's all dried out, so it's a golden, beautiful color. But why is it that the color of the water is always different? So who wants to answer that? And I don't need a technical answer. I'm not a scientist. Unless you are, you can explain it. That would be great. What changes the color of the water? What conditions?
Because of the weather, the kind of weather we're having.
Very good. The conditions of weather. What else? Today, as you can see, it's overcast, right?
It could be the density of the materials in the water.
The light.
The water, very good. The water itself. Anybody else?
The light.
The light. What changes the light?
The sun. Clouds.
Yes, the sun. Very good. The clouds, the atmosphere. That's another condition. Is it hazy? Is it foggy, right? Those sorts of things. Is it a clear day, right? That's also part of weather. Of course, different seasons also change the light drastically, right? So did we leave anything out? We have weather. We have atmosphere, the water itself. Okay, the seasons. What else?
Time of day.
Of course, time of day and night. That view looks so spectacular when the sun is setting. I mean, I can't go out there when the sun is setting we don't have the Zoom at that time, but it's just spectacular, right? It's like magic light
Joyce, also, sorry, algae.
in the water itself.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The surface and quality of the water. I didn't think of that.
Hey, Jen,
And another factor is pollution, right? We don't really have a lot of pollution on the East End, but if you're in a city, factors like smog will also change the quality of the way the light appears.
And
Okay.
what about imagination?
And what about imagination? I love it. We're going to see today how in modern art, the trajectory starts with Impressionism, where artists, and I'm not going to explain it too much, I'm going to show it. Artists are keenly aware of the idea of how everything is always changing with the conditions of light and weather, and everything is in flux, but also the idea how we see things through our own subjective lens. And as time goes on, artists become more interested in painting not an objective reality, but their imagination, their dreams, their subjective reality. And sometimes there's a blending of these ideas. So let's explore that on a PowerPoint, and then I'll leave some time at the end so you can create. So this is not a scholarly talk, this is a discussion. So I thought it would be nice to show just a few changing views of that view. Apparently, I took these all when there were no leaves on the trees for some reason, but you can see how the same scene is, everything is always in flux depending on the conditions that we just mentioned.
oh, beautiful.
And this is not touched up. This is just a regular photo in winter. Okay, so let's start with Impressionism. Everybody please mute yourselves because I hear some noise in the background. Thank you. So Michel Eugene Chevreul is, he's a color theorist in the late 1800s, and he profoundly affects the way artists think about paint and color and light. And one of the themes that runs through Impressionism is the idea of using dabs of color rather than coloring in, so to speak. And Chevreul explains that color is all relational. So if you put yellow, if you put red next to green, the red and the green are going to appear very, very bright next to each other because they're opposite colors. That's just one example. If you were to put red, let's say next to just a slightly lighter red like a pink, it would not appear to your eye as bright. So Impressionist artists become interested in this idea when you put these dabs of color, dabs like brush strokes, for example, on a canvas, how does your eye perceive it, right? When the colors are simultaneously next to each other. And this is, it's sort of like an overlap between science and art. And here we see an example of this. This is Monet's famous painting. It's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And let me just throw out a question here. What do we see in terms of the weather conditions in this painting or the light conditions? Anyone?
Cloudy,
And what else?
stormy,
Windy?
windy.
Yeah, we could tell it's
Yeah.
windy because of the boats and the flags.
Moody, it's moody.
What's the mood?
Well, it looks almost like inclement. We don't know what's going to happen. It's curious. Anything can happen here.
It's really interesting how people perceive things in different ways, right? Because I can see what you're saying. Because way in the background, you see the smoke coming out of the boats, right? So it could be like those warships. I think he's hinting at the idea also of industrialism in that time, right? We have this combination of nature and industry. But
To me, it looks like maybe late summer because of the flowers.
Yeah, late
And-
summer.
Yeah,
s-
and like late afternoon because of the shadow.
Yeah,
and
so
rain. Yeah.
They
yes,
seem
it
to be
looks-
enjoying the sunshine, though. They
Yeah,
seem to be enjoying the sunshine that's coming through.
yeah, they're relaxing. They're at the seaside. This is a relatively new idea. Oh, it is a new idea. It's very modern idea, that the idea that you have leisure time and you leave the city to go to the seaside, you go into nature to have respite, to relax, and also to be spiritually uplifted. So Monet is painting the scene. It's as if we're there, right? The people in the picture are not posed. They're not looking at us. It's as if we're there. Everything is happening right in front of us, right? But I chose this picture because it's a very clear example of the use of dabs of color and also opposite colors. Suzanne, can you let this person in, Gil, just by pushing the blue button, admit? So, for example, on the bushes, we know that light is hitting these bushes with these flowers, right? But he's not painting every little detail of the flowers. He's indicating the flowers with little dabs of color, with red up against green and maybe a dash of yellow to show light. And the shadows as well are made of dabs of maybe a bluish color, a cooler green, a darker green, etc. So if you were to walk close up to this picture, what would you see? You would see all the individual brushstrokes. But when you step back, your eye blends it and it creates somewhat of a realistic picture here, right? It doesn't look very abstract. As Monet goes on in his lifetime, towards his older lifetime, he paints the water lilies, his work becomes more abstract. But here are the roots of modern art. The colors become more vivid. There were also tubes of paint that were developed that were much more vivid. The artist is going out into nature to paint. Everything is changing when you're in nature. It changes rapidly, doesn't it? With the time of day, with the weather conditions, all the things we just mentioned. So also artists are painting more rapidly. Okay, they're painting on the spot in plein air painting. And they're painting, it's an impression. It's a fleeting moment. It's not posed. Does this make sense so far? And all of these ideas, as I'm going to show you later, when we come to abstract expressionist art, are pushed even further. We no longer even need the image of people and place. You can create the memory of a place just by showing color, line, texture itself in abstract art. Maybe you don't even paint the memory of a place. So this is Auguste Renoir, and we see here the dance or the young people enjoying themselves. And it's like we're at the dance, right? Everything's moving, everything's in flux. People are in the middle of eating or talking or dancing. And even her dress, you see the woman on the left is tilted. But what do you notice about the light in this picture?
There's a lot of shadows on the faces, on the hat, on his suit in the front. So you see the light coming through.
And what is the light coming through?
The trees, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, yes, he's showing the flickering light coming through the trees. And you know, when light flickers in through the trees, it's constantly moving, it's constantly changing, right? So this is Impressionism. He's capturing a moment in time. He's capturing the effects of light on the scene. Color is light, right? We'll get to that in a moment. And light is always changing. Everything we perceive, there's no objective reality, because if the light changed, if this was at night, for example, the scene would look completely different, right? So that's what I mean when we say it's a moment in time. This is Childe Hassam, 1917 in East Hampton. And of course, the French in Paris are best known for Impressionism, but we also had American Impressionists as well. And as I said, it was really convenient for artists to come out to the East End of Long Island, which at that time had a much more it was rural out here. The nature is spectacular. And what an ideal place for artists to come to paint light. Here's New York City and Washington Square Park. So we were talking about the effects of weather condition, right? So you'll see with the Impressionist artists, here we have reflected light coming off of the glistening cement that's covered with water, right? And we have the haze in the background. And it's, again, it's as if we're there. We could also, a subtopic of this, we could feel the scene as well as see it. It's like you could feel the coldness, you could feel the dampness, you could feel the wetness of it all. And that's another theme in modern art, that you're painting senses which aren't seen. And here is Union Square in winter, right? So you're going to see in Impressionist paintings, changes in weather, changes in season and time of day, and how that affects the light. Now, of course, this is Claude Monet, his famous haystack series. So what he does is he paints these haystacks in all different conditions. This is not an easy thing to do. I think he made about 30, 32 paintings. I'm not sure. I'm not good with numbers. The haystacks don't change. They're stationary, right? And Monet studies the effects of season, time of day, and weather conditions on the haystacks as it relates to color. So here we see this wintry scene, right? We see these cool colors, and he's probably making them more vivid than they actually are in real life, but you do see a lot of purples and blues in winter, but he's enhancing it. Here we see the light is coming from the side, right? So we could assume it maybe it's coming from the side. So that might give us an indication of time of day, that it's not noon. If it was noon, it would be coming straight from above. I would assume this is warmer weather. The colors are really warm. You see the golden yellows and the very warm greens. Maybe this is autumn. Now, how did he do this? This is not an easy thing to do, because when you're out there and you say, I want to paint an early morning scene, well, in an hour and a half, 2 hours, it's not morning anymore, and you're not finished with your painting. So how do you solve that problem? Any ideas on that?
Well, they would come day by day after day.
Yes, sometimes he would go back to the same scene, and he would have multiple canvases that he's working on within one day.
Or you
So-
take a photograph.
Yes, and he did also take photographs. He was criticized for this later on when he did his, which I'll show you, the paintings of the Parliament in England. But he said it's really not important what the method is. What's important is the final painting. And but I thought it was interesting that he would switch up canvases throughout the day. And this is his famous Houses of Parliament in London. Monet was French, but he rented a hotel room in London so he could see the Parliament building on the Thames River. And one of the reasons he was particularly attracted to London is because of the atmospheric smog and fog. The smog was caused by the industrial pollution. And of course, London is also a very foggy city. So it really makes it interesting atmospherically. And here we see, I presume this is either sunrise or sunset. Conditions of maybe fog. Anyone want to add to any of the discussion?
Yeah, it's almost not this, but a few previous one, almost like Turner, like William Turner, I think 3 back.
That is a very good, very good observation, because Turner had also painted the Parliament building.
Uh-huh.
I didn't show it here because it's, you know, I was limiting the scope of this talk, but you can find that online if you look it up after the program. Yeah.
Joyce, this is Shelley. I was trying to think of the name of the painter whose a studio I visited when I was in Spain. He's called the Painter of Light. His last name begins with an S, and I cannot, for the life of me, remember his name. I was hoping you might know it. He is called the Painter of Light.
Oh, does anybody else know who that is?
No, but Google suggests Jacquin Sorolla.
Yes, that's the guy. Yes.
That's Google. Go straight to Google.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. That's the guy.
And what year is he from, Shelley?
Spain. And if you have an example of his paintings, you will see a true remarkable use of light in his paintings.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up. I was
Yes.
wondering if he is before modern art because I'm focusing on like the late 18th. I'm focusing on modern art for the sake of this talk, but we'll look that up while you're working.
Okay.
Joyce,
I think
Anybody
it's
else?
19.
Joyce, it feels too like it's so impressionistic and leading to abstract expressionism. I mean, you know, almost it's like moving so much in that direction in these pictures.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna give you a little challenge. What makes it look to you like abstract expressionism? What's the similarity?
The color and the light and feeling. It's just, if it wasn't for the structure there of Parliament, just very light, you would think it was total expressionism.
Yes, absolutely. We see first off the composition. Without that building, it's somewhat of an overall composition that goes right off the edge of the canvas. We also see the artist's mark becomes much freer, much looser, and much more prominent. You can see, like in the water, for example, you see all the brush strokes of those dashes. The birds become brush strokes rather than detailed, right? And in the sky, we have swooshes of color. Abstract expressionist pushes this. Color becomes more free also. The difference is that Monet is painting from observation, from keen observation, right? The abstract expressionists, with the exception of the de Koonings, don't paint from observation. They paint from their inner world. It's 100% abstract. It's no longer painted from the seen world. But absolutely, you could see how this leads to abstract art, especially in Monet. We could also see the emotional quality of each of these pictures as well, right?
There I wrote it in the chat, the Joaquin Sorolla. He's from the late 19th century, and he's part of maybe modern art, maybe.
It's in 1909. I've just
okay.
looked it up. And A Walk on the Beach is one of his paintings.
Yes.
All right, Shelley, thank you so much. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Absolutely. You're
Okay,
gonna-
while you're working, I'm gonna look that up.
Yep.
Here we see also like, you know, with the, I'm going to go over it in a moment with the abstract expressionist, there's two trajectories. There's color field painting and action painting. With action painting, the artist's movement becomes very visible. We can trace the artist's, you know, action in the actual physical work of art. And we can see the way Monet painted the sky, all those lines, right? It's like we could see the artist's movement. This was very revolutionary at the time, right? This is all new. This is all different. Prior to this, I mean, like in artwork, such as the American landscape painters, the artist's mark was barely perceptible. So we're going to fast forward. We're not going to go through the whole history of art. We're going to fast forward to abstract expressionism. And this movement of art developed on the East End of Long Island in the United States, of course. So it shifts the art world from Paris to New York. And what's so groundbreaking is that these artists are painting in an abstract method, but it's very physical. It's a release of energy. So in Pollock's case, he places the painting on the floor, working from all four sides, and he's using house paint rather than art paint, dripping paint from sticks. And as I said, he's not painting a version of a landscape. This is not what Pollock is doing. Pollock he's painting its energy made visible. You could say it's a release of energy through the paint, through the physicality of the paint. And he has no idea what will come out when he's painting, right? Pollock says, I can control the flow of paint, that this is not accidental and random. But sometimes his paintings do suggest themes of nature, even though he didn't start off painting a particular scene of nature. So this one is Blue Poles. It's in Australia today. And when one looks at this, it might remind you of trees with leaves or light coming through the background. Some of his paintings also, sometimes they remind me of aerial views, like you're looking down at roads and things like that. Sometimes they might remind me of a celestial, like even this one. I could also see it like you're looking up at the sky. But for Pollock, he said he wanted his paintings to be enjoyed just as music is enjoyed. You don't ask when you listen to a song, what does that mean? You just enjoy the music, okay? So sometimes in Pollock's work, well, Pollock has his famous quote. When Hans Hofmann asked him, why don't you paint nature? Meaning, why don't you paint from a landscape or a view? Pollock says, I am nature. What does this mean? What do you think he means, I am nature? Anyone?
There is no separation anymore between the artist and the subject. The artist either embody nature or the artist is part of nature as a human being.
Yeah, very, very good explanation. Yeah. When you're painting a view of a landscape, you're separate from nature, right? With Pollock and the abstract expressionists, nature comes from your inner life. It comes within, and you're connected to all of the universe. You're one with the universe, you could say, right? This actually goes way back to yogic ideas. It's brought over to the West by Theosophy, okay? That's a whole other topic, which I'm going to cover in late December. Now, even though Pollock is not literally painting nature, sometimes, as I said, especially in this one, we do see a quality of light coming through, don't we? Right? We can see it's almost like a flickering yellow and the flickering white coming through. And maybe there's even an element of time, like it's moving forward. Any thoughts on how you interpret or see this one? I think this one would also make a good comparison to that Renoir painting where it's the light coming through the trees. Also, when you see the actual painting itself, there's a quality of light on the surface of the painting itself, the physical painting, because some of the painting is matte, some of the painting is glossy, some of it is shimmery. So we can't really see, some of the light is reflecting off the painting. Some of the light is being absorbed into the color. We can't really see that in a slide. This one is in New York City at the Whitney Museum of American Art. Lee Krasner, Jackson Pollock's wife, she's also an abstract expressionist painter. She's painting pure color. You no longer have to have the painting tied to a form. So she calls this autumnal red, right? And she's painting the vibrancy of autumn, right? Without being literal. Her technique was to cut up her old artworks and then reassemble them to create new compositions, and then painting back into them, sometimes with drip painting, sometimes with a brush, sometimes adding other elements like burlap or even tearing up paper, and always reworking her former artworks. She says it would start with a color of form and it begins dictating to me what's needed in terms of color as well as form. So the idea the painting is dictating to the artist. What does that mean? How does a painting dictate to an artist? What does that mean?
Well, you become possessed with it. It's like inside you, it's total there, and you have to listen to it and it'll tell you what to do. It comes from inside feelings.
Yeah, if you've ever had this experience, you know exactly what it means. It's linked to intuition as well. It's as if another Helmholtz Klim says, a force moves through me. Pollock says, I let the painting lead, right? It's as if you're a vessel, you could say, and the creativity is moving through you, right? So there's no preconceived idea with abstract expressionism. Lee
It's
says,
like they're married together.
yes, you become one. You become one with the painting and the process, right? And it's a humility in a way. The artist lets go of the ego and is obedient to what that process is telling you. It's not telling you like you're having a hallucination. It's just you're one with the process.
But it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful when you think of it, because you're kind of letting it lead the way. It's a surrender.
It's a surrender, and it can be linked to spirituality. Not all artists, I'm not saying they framed it this way, and Pollock was not a religious man, and Lee, that's a whole other topic. She was brought up Jewish, but she didn't practice any specific religion. But with some artists, they do specifically cite the idea of the spiritual with this process, like, for example, Kandinsky. But with Lee's paintings, even though this is all over painting, it's abstract art, it is reminiscent of nature, clearly, right? So this one, you would have the overall essence of springtime, of warm colors, of bursting energy, right? Life coming through, right? And also light coming through, for that matter, right? This one, you get the overall essence of autumn colors, movement, etc. Here's Joan Mitchell, also a later abstract expressionist artist from the second wave of the New York school. She says, I paint from remembered landscapes that I carry with me and remembered feelings of them, which of course become transformed. I could certainly never mirror nature. I would like more to paint what it leaves with me. So sometimes her paintings, this is abstract, right? Clearly, but it's called, what's the title up there? It's called Straw, right? I can't see it on my computer. And her paintings often remind us of nature without being literal again. This one, I think, makes a really good comparison to Monet's haystacks. Even though those haystacks were wheat, they weren't straw. But I think it makes a nice comparison in terms of an approach to nature.
Can I ask about this or even that?
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick one. I mean, this is incredible, and we consider this abstract art as in modern art, but I'm always looking at El Greco and the opening of the fifth series or the seventh series? I mean, I know it's figurative in a way, but my God, it is so abstract, his brush strokes. I don't know if he can be considered, El Greco, as the beginning of modern abstract art, maybe?
I don't think, no, he's not usually cited as the beginning of abstract art, but you are 100% right that, like Pollock, for example, studied El Greco. And in all of the earliest artists in general, if you break down the forms, there's an abstraction that underlies the structure of every painting. And with El Greco, his forms are often elongated, and you'll see that in Pollock's work. At the beginning, he uses these elongated brushstrokes. He's directly influenced by El Greco, as well as many other artists. So good observation.
Thank you.
Maybe I can say something. In one of my art teachers, art history teachers said that every movement is not that it happens from one day to the other. There are processes, and maybe the Greco is one of them, also Gosha. So they are in the limit. You cannot put them as an example of modern, but they are starting, yes, and it's all
100%.
yes, it's part of. Even you can find surrealism maybe in the middle era, okay, but I think it's that not surrealism as that, but you can find connections all the time. It's not that every process is just from one day to the other. So maybe there are starting points.
100%. I mean, every generation with everything expands upon or develops from what came before. And art never gets boring, because you could even take a Jackson Pollock painting and do a very good comparison to cave painting, right? They have a lot of similarities. We're not going to get into that right now. But
he was very influenced by the cave paintings, right?
well, he was influenced by indigenous people's art in general, but that's a whole other topic. Okay, let's go on with this. Well, as we're talking about influences, Joan Mitchell was actually really influenced color-wise by Vincent van Gogh and Claude Monet. So this very, very rich blue, we see this in Van Gogh's work. We see that golden yellow in Van Gogh's work, right? In the Starry Night, many other paintings. Van Gogh often has these colors as symbolic of, the yellow is like symbolic of hope and warmth and, you know, light, but in a symbolic way. In Joan Mitchell's abstract painting here, she calls it Hudson River Dayline. It's as if she's painting the light reflecting on the water and the coolness of the water, the movement of the water, even the sound of the water as it passes, right? Willem de Kooning, this is amazing. He lived down the street from Pollock and Krasner. They part of this group of abstract artists. Louse Point is a spectacular bay beach right down the street. And he's capturing the light at dawn at Louse Point, right? But again, he's doing it, it's very physical. You could see the brush strokes, you could see scraping, you could see smearing, and you could see the essence of color itself is light, right? Because what is color? What is color? Color is light. Color is all of the rays of, I'm not good with technical things, so help me out if I make a, color is, all the colors of the rainbow, so to speak, are absorbed into an object, except for one color, which in this case is yellow. It's reflecting, it's bouncing off, okay? That's why we see yellow here. So color is light. Also, color is perceived in your eye. It has to do with your optics, right? It also goes into from your optics in your eye, from your lens to your brain. So the way we perceive color is very subjective. And the artists, the abstract artists, are very interested in this idea of subjectivity. It's a very individual process. Does that make sense? It's the way that artist is experiencing that color, that moment in time, nature, and art itself. So color field painting is, all of the abstract expressionists are different stylistically, but let's say you can break it down into action painting and color field painting. So color field painting, the main element is color. Helen Frankenthaler does this soak stain technique. So here we see it's like the light is emanating from this canvas. How did she do this? She would not prime the canvas, pour a liquid paint that was watered down with turpentine, that was liquefied with turpentine, and the paint would soak into the canvas with layers of paint to create this luminous color. And it's translucent. One color at times overlaps on another color. She was also inspired by nature without copying nature. Not all of her paintings are inspired by nature, but many of them are. She's the first color field painter. Other artists visit her studio And you can see the direct influence here. This is Morris Louis, and I'm sorry I don't have the date. Later on, when Clement Greenberg writes the book about color field painting, he leaves Helen Frankenthaler out. But now it is pretty much a fact that she really was the first color field painter. Anyway, here again, we see this luminous, translucent color with light coming through. Mark Rothko, of course, he's not referencing anything outside of itself. The paintings are contemplative, they're meditative, and they're very large scale. Again, it has these luminous bands of color. Alma Thomas is a color field painting working in the Washington, D.C. area. She's a Black artist, and she says color is light and light is the mother of color. So Alma Thomas often references nature, but again, she's painting with complete abstraction. This is, or most of the time it's completely abstract, but her titles will give us a hint of what the inspiration came from. And this one is The Eclipse. She did a series of paintings about space travel and just outer space, the galaxy. This one is inspired by azaleas and cherry blossoms. And this is so beautiful. It's like you could see the light, almost as we said, flickering through the flowers. And it's almost, she calls it wind. It's like you could also hear the breeze. You could feel the breeze. Or you could see almost the petals moving a bit as the wind is passing it and the light is passing through. Anyone want to add to any of these ideas? Comments, questions?
On this one, I almost get a scent of the flowers.
Of what?
A scent from the flowers, like a scent.
Yeah, isn't that, I love that. That's so beautiful because there's a word for that. It's called synesthesia. When one sense triggers another sense. So I was talking to someone the other day and he said, oh yeah, when I look at a painting, I can actually smell it. But he wasn't saying it like he imagines he smells it. Sometimes an actual other sense can be triggered by, like you said, scent can be triggered by visual. Or Kandinsky would say he would look at color. I mean, he would listen to the symphony orchestra and he would see colors, not imagine. He said he would actually see it. Now, in the West, we sometimes think that person's crazy, right? But in the Eastern religions and philosophy, they take that more as a given, that that's just a human experience and it can be linked to being clairvoyant. It's like a higher level of experiencing life. So I'm not going to demonstrate today, but I'm going to give you a little guidance for your hands-on here. So I thought it would be good. Of course, the ideal is if you're outdoors or you're even painting from a photo. So if you have an image, that would be great. One approach is you could capture light using dabs of color. This is one I made for my children's book that actually I used cotton swabs and little dabs of paint in a pointillistic style, in a simplistic way to show color, right? So for example, it's pretty basic. The sun there, if you were to step back, the red and the yellow, if you step way back, it's going to appear to be orangey, right? And this one, I'm sorry, I couldn't really find one that I made, so I just put this in at the last, so I have to fix this one. But I just took a detail of the other one. But you could also make an abstract painting that expresses light without actually painting a thing. So choose which way you want to go and see if you can make an abstract painting with color, line, shape, or you can do an actual scene. Does anybody have any questions? Then we'll do some sharing. And at the end, if you already had some art that you've already made, you can share that as well. Okay? Anyone have any questions about any technical thing, about color or anything else, or how to use paint? I will try to answer the question as best I can. Okay?
We have about what, 10 minutes or something?
No,
much-
this actually goes till 2:45.
Okay,
So we have all together, Suzanne, 25 minutes.
okay.
And we'll start sharing, let's say in about, how about in 15 minutes, we'll start to share even if we're not finished. And Suzanne, if you want to do a quick screen share of any of your paintings that relate really well to this theme, you're
Probably
welcome.
not be right now because I have to go searching through my stuff, but next time I would love to.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Did you say abstract only, or can be figurative as well today?
Oh, no, you could do figurative or abstract.
Okay.
Okay, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna look up this artist. I'm gonna turn my camera on. So I'll be back in about approximately 10, 15 minutes. I'll check in, but in the meantime, just unmute if you have a question.
Hi, Joyce. It's Joyce.
How you doing, Joyce? Did you want to show something?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. Hang on. Nice to see you. So tell us about that one. That's beautiful. Very nice. Did you
I
just
did this a while ago. No, I did this long time ago. And
That's really
in
nice.
yeah,
That-
and it kind of like the little yellow things just kind of float.
Yeah, it relates really well with what we're discussing. Because
Yeah, like
they,
who's the artist that had that one that was kind of like,
what with little dabs of what
yeah, it
abstract?
was kind of like, yeah, and it was, yeah, I can't remember her name, but
Hold
you
it
showed
back
it.
up. That's so good. Hold it back up, Joyce. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's worthy of cutting off that paper, make it look nice, like. cut that paper edge
Yeah,
off.
actually, it's gonna go on the wall.
I
I'll
could,
measure some.
it's really
thinking-
nice.
Alma Thomas, is that who you mean? The woman we just saw with the purpley flowers?
Yeah, yeah, Alma Thomas is what you think.
I think that's what she's thinking, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. Alma Thomas, you might want to look her up. She's an amazing artist. She's a very important American artist. She her painting was bought by the Obamas when he was in office, the president, and it was hung up in the White House. She's now a major artist. She was under-recognized for a long time, but you might want to look her up, Joyce. I think you just enjoy the paintings. But
Yeah, 'cause I
that's
see you show some over the times, and every time I see it, it's like, I have something like that.
no, that's beautiful. I love the way you made those colors. I could see that you working in that really big too. I could see you kind of enlarging that.
Yeah, I always like, because you're supposed to, when you got your paper, you need to make edges. So if you want to frame them, you have the edges. But I'm always like, want to go bigger.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's
that's
like,
okay. That's good. I had a teacher that said you can add on paper, you can take away paper, you could make it smaller, you know. You can
Yeah.
add on if you want to add on. You can, you know. Yeah.
It's just that like, once I'm done it, if you want to frame it, there's no, like, I don't want to cut any of it out or be covered by the board you put there. But
Yeah.
but I keep doing it, so
Yeah, it's harder to frame. It's not a standard size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. I like your cat.
I
He
think
wants
that
me to give him his treat.
Okay, Martin, would you like to add?
I think that the technique when you have that you add things as we know as collage, the collage is when you take out, you maybe use stick papers, but maybe you are just ripping them from the surface, you are sticking them, the collage.
I never heard of that term. What are you
Yeah.
working on, Martin?
No, I am using what for me are primary colors that they are related to light. It's long story, but what just mixing them, making some abstract, but just
Nice.
trying to make only the colors using this. These are the colors from the printer, let's say, yes, magenta, cyan, and yellow, and these come from the colors of the light, red as the monitors, red, green, and blue.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
nice.
So
Yeah.
those primaries in light are the secondary when we mix them here, and these are the secondary of lights, magentas, yellow, and cyan. This one is in light, red and green. When you mix two lights, red and green, you get yellow lights. Okay.
Right. We're going to cover that. I have another one coming up. So we're going to cover some of the science of color. It gets there's bits involved. Yeah. But good point.
Yeah, sometimes it's tricky, it's difficult, but it's once we know it, it's very easy. And even to work with these colors like pigment is for me they are much brighter than you see it the traditional red, blue, and yellow as primary colors. But it's
And where do you get those? What are those called when you order those? What are those called?
magenta, cyan, let's say, and yellow.
Oh, I see.
Maybe
Okay.
this could be the cerulean blue in painting because it depends on the brand of the make. Maybe in oleon, in oil paintings or acrylics, maybe you call them cerulean blue. Okay, but it doesn't have to be ultramarine, for instance, your primary, and you don't have to use red. You have to use magenta or quinacridona purple. It depends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something that's related to this color and a medium yellow. And with those colors, when you mix them, for instance, if you mix these two, you get blue and purple. Yes. If you mix magenta and yellow, you get oranges and reds. Okay. So red in this palette, red is a secondary color, and blue also is a secondary color. Mixing these two are,
Yeah. Thank you.
I usually work with these as the primaries.
No, that's interesting. That's going to lead into our whole other discussion because I'll come back for that session, Martin, and show us how that turns out. I'm serious.
Whenever you want me.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share anything, or we could just be silent and then I'll check back in a few minutes.
I could share something a bit figurative.
Oh, let me see. Who is that? Gil?
Gil speaking, yes.
Oh, hi, Gil. How are you?
I'm here many times just without the monitor, so I didn't realize I was here in previous session as well. But I can share something
nice
with
to
you if
see
you
you.
want.
Yeah.
I'll share the screen.
Wait, let me give you this screen share. Hold on. Hold on. Let me organize this. Gil. All right, Gil. So you're a co-host now. You can share your screen.
So now you should be able to see. Let me scroll down to the one I wanted to show you. This one here. So on the left, sorry, not made today and not by myself. This on the left was created by my wife with encaustic wax. Look at the beautiful color here. And then I wrote a poem. I fed this painting to artificial intelligence. I told it artificial intelligence, study the composition color and create a figurative based on my poem and based on my wife's art. And on the right, this is artificial intelligence here on the right. So no credit to me, credit to artificial intelligence. You can see clearly dark area on the left original, dark area on the right AI. So you can see composition is copied completely from the left. We're talking about color today. What I did like is here in the center, the very dark area and the yellow figure that for me happens to work really well. It's really, I know it's figurative, I'm an abstract person, but I think this works extremely well from the point of view of colors.
Wow. That's a good one, Gil. I love that. Wait, can I take a screenshot and show that for my program about rainbows that I'm doing?
Yeah, but why screenshot? Why don't you use the original article? You can choose which one. So if
can you send me that in the chat? Send everybody. Can we go to this website?
Yes, so if I go to the chat, I'll stop sharing and then I will send it in the chat when I find how to do it in a minute. I think now you should receive so you can see. I don't know what people think about AI, Joyce. You might want to do a session on AI.
Yeah, I would love to. I know nothing about it. Do you want to present about that?
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to. I have
would you? That would be so good. That's not my, that is beyond my expertise. That would be really good. You could do, you can be a guest speaker.
Absolutely, yes. Have a look at the link and I would love to chat with you further and can deliver the session.
Good. I'll follow up with you. Thank you so much. And thank you for showing us. That was a really good connection to this.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see. So Linda, would you like to share? Hang on, let me get the view here. Oh, I like it, Linda. Very nice. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, the different colors, putting down the different colors, like abstract.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, very good. You definitely understood the concept, Linda. Very nice.
Okay, thank you.
And how about here?
Hi. It's like Linda. I'm inspired by Alma Thomas. I did this one.
Very
and
nice.
here I was trying to do a combination of colors only.
Oh. It's interesting. You were experimenting with different ways to apply the different colors.
Yeah. I'm
I
using
like that.
crayon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like that. It's playful.
Thank you.
I like that, here. And you could probably go further with that, right?
Yeah, I
Good
mean, that's
idea.
what I have done so far.
Yeah. No, and I love your inspiration from Alma Thomas. And it looks beautiful the way it is. And if you want to go further with the idea, you could also vary the color behind all the dabs of color, right? And you could also, like in a lot of her paintings, the dabs, there's not as much white space around them.
Okay.
So they're a little bit like up against each other, but they're
Yeah.
not quite overlapping. It's a very subtle thing that she does. So you could also think about that, like how much space do you want? Like in the center there, you did more overlapping. So that's another variation you can think about. How much space is in between? How big, how large are those dabs? Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And how about Barb Wood?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. So tell us about this one, Barb. Did you just do that?
Yeah, I use these flowers as inspiration.
Very nice. Not an easy thing to paint flowers with, I presume, watercolors.
No, but it was fun.
Yeah, it takes a lot of technique. And it's a nice other topic with this, where when we do use watercolors, we're using translucent colors, using water, we're letting the white of the paper show through.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
that sense, light is coming through the paper, right?
Yeah.
You did a great job with that.
Thank you.
There's a
Very
cool,
nice.
there's a cool drip happening. It's, I love,
Yes.
no, I love the unintended accent. No, let it go. It's really adding a nice darkness to the green.
You're right, Suzanne, you're right. And very good. This is a good example of opposite colors. Red and green side by side are very vibrant, but when the red and green mix together, it makes a darker, duller color. So good. Thank you for that. That was good color exercise there.
I can share.
And let's see, who said that? Suzanne?
Yeah.
Great. And
So,
Suzanne,
how do I,
oh, did you just make that, Suzanne?
yeah.
Really nice. Tell us, what was your inspiration?
Well, trying, like you said, capturing light. So I was thinking, I guess, a little bit about the dance with the light coming through the trees, and I don't know how you want to hold it, but
Yeah. No, you did a really good job with that. With it has a feeling of flickering light. And also, this is a good example where, because you have that black against the white here and there, but not all over, then other places the white is against the pink and whatnot. But the black makes the white look really, really light because of contrast. It's really beautiful, Suzanne.
thank you. Had fun with it.
I'd
So
like
good.
to show something.
Sure, we'll get to everybody. I'm sure we'll have time. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne used to be one of our Pollock Krasna teachers, and Suzanne is an artist living on the east end of Long Island as well, in Shelter Island, right?
Yes.
You still in?
Yes.
Yeah. So Virginia, where are you coming from, Virginia? This is a worldwide audience. What would you like to show us, Virginia?
Okay, so I'm from Seattle. And okay, so I can't there.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see. Can you explain a little bit, because the pencil doesn't show up great?
It's really gray outside. In fact, it's raining again. And I thought that I would do dots for the, I can't.
Very nice. No, we could see it now. I see the
Okay.
dots. Yeah. Very
Okay.
nice. And
So it's not even finished because, you know, but I thought I would show you it.
no, it's really nice. I mean, you can create light and shadow. It's called stippling. You do all those dots, you could create value. And yes, it takes a long time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very nice. Anyone else? Jules, would you like to
Yeah.
show us your artwork today, Jules? Wow, that is so good. Is that a light bulb?
Yes.
I love that. Jules, I love that so much. That light bulb looks so bright and so colorful. The way you color it in the yellow, it's incredible. That's really good. Did you do that today, Jules?
Yes.
Wow. Really good job. I love that one. It's so bold. Really nice. Thank you.
Hi, Joyce. This is Susan. I'd like to show something.
Susan, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. What are you
I've
up to
been-
over there, Susan?
Well, just playing around with color. Can you see it?
Beautiful. Yeah, what did you, is
And-
that on your computer you made that?
No, I'm showing you my iPad. This is because I'm on my iPhone. It's not as good as being on a computer, but anyway.
Wait, how did you, so you made that and then you photographed it?
Yeah, yeah. Here's the actual thing, but can you see it? I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's better. I think it's better on.
Well,
I
you
don't know, this
point
is-
the camera down a bit.
So I see.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to show, but.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really beautiful, actually, the way you let one color fade into the next. And then what did
Yeah.
you, use? Like you masked off for the white of the paper? You
Yeah,
used,
well, no, I didn't mask off. I just, skipped it. When I was brushing it over, I left the white.
very
I
nice.
left the white. Yeah. I just wanted to play with the color, and then of course it looks like sunset and and the water and grass in the front. I mean, that just came out,
Yeah,
it just-
well, it's, yeah.
with watercolor, it just keeps flowing if you let it.
No, it's really nice. And it's a good example of how some art teeters between abstraction and representation. It's like right on the edge. You can see it either way. Very nice, because you kept the colors really clean and the way you let the white of the paper show through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a great class, really, as all of them have been.
Thank you. I'm so
Okay.
glad everybody is approaching this in different ways. We
Yeah.
have a couple of more minutes. Anyone want to show what you're working on? How about Lori? Where are you coming from, Lori? Where's your location?
I'm in Rochester, New York.
Rochester, must be cold up there.
A little cold and very gray.
Okay.
So what I'm using these the Caran Dash watercolor pencil.
Very nice.
Yep. And what I was trying to do is at night, so maybe a moon or something, so you can sort of see the trees through the dark. Here's a little bit of the afterglow reflection on the water. But I was trying to figure out how to do more, to show that it's night without it, obviously being all black.
Well, I like it the way it is. I think it implies that it's night. I'm going to be doing a class coming up called Ignite the Darkness. So come to that one and you'll see examples by great artists and how they paint the night and paint light in the dark. So how about that? I think that they'll be to come to that one. Okay. Go to pkhouse.org. You'll see it. I think it's a beautiful image. I like it a lot because I love the way it's so mysterious with that big purple ball that's like illuminating light. And it's so large, it sort of has a spiritual quality to it.
Good. Okay,
And
great.
mystery.
Good. I enjoy these classes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll tell you what, everybody. We have time for one more. Betsy?
Hi, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
I'm calling in from Silver Spring, Maryland, but my mother was from Amagansett, so I have some East End roots. So
Very
I know
nice.
what you mean about the light. I think it's part of my DNA, and I don't make it out there very much. But anyway, this is the first time I put anything onto paper. in decades. So thank you for the class. I appreciate it. So I'm looking at a glass paperweight, and clearly not realism, but I like the colors and just started playing with that. So thanks so much.
Hey, can you hold up the paperweight?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's one of those old fashioned paper ones.
Yeah. Oh,
I worked for
yeah.
the federal government for years, and this was a giveaway there when they were clearing some things out, and it spoke to me. So
Great example of reflected light of the paperweight. No, that's a challenge. You gave.
I think I'll play with this.
Very good. You could do a lot with that. You could do a lot with that. And, you know, you definitely picked a subject, considering you said I haven't painted in years. You picked a very difficult subject. So,
Well, you know who I years ago, I had the opportunity to meet Janet Fish, and she just does amazing things with light. And just, I've remembered that. Yeah, just the light, it just knocks me out. So I'd like to play with that some more.
yeah, very good. You could also try doing some just pencil ones so you can keenly observe. That would be a challenge, a different approach.
Thanks.
And
Thanks for that
I'll
tip.
show you everybody, because we do have one on light and shadow coming up, which will relate a little bit to, let me move all this. This is the artist that Shelley was speaking about. So look that up, but let me just go, hold on here. Let me stop the screen share. I have so many screens up. I'll just show you on the website for anyone that's interested. Hang on. Oh. Okay, so here are our December programs. As I mentioned, tomorrow we'll be doing Ignite the Darkness. Radiant Art, this is going to be a fun one about how artists actually use light itself. This is basic color mixing, about light and pigment color mixing. This is basic for beginners, light and shadow workshop. This is a fun one, how artists use projectors. And reflections on art, you know, about, well, this is a really fun one because there's so many different examples of this. And then for December, I thought it would be nice to do light as a metaphor for divinity. So we're going to discuss narrative art that investigates divinity. And then there's one that's missing here. Oh, no. And then we're going to do this one as abstract art. And then in between on December 20th, come and you can share your own art. And that's more of an open discussion. And then finally, this is good for all ages. We're going to paint rainbows any way you want to paint it. So if you have children around, you can all come to that one. So go to pkhouse.org if you want to sign up. Okay. You'll also get an announcement. But thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody sharing and all the good ideas and information that you bring to the program. And so nice to see our international audience during this special time of year. And I think it's so extraordinary. I'm not just saying this. There's so many ways we could fight, and we can see the person as the other, or see someone as different than us, or there's so much cruelty in the world. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that we come together from all over the world to share it in really through art and our creativity. I think it's just so beautiful. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I agree, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Have a good afternoon or evening.